Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Hello and welcome inside yet another edition. It is the Bmore Baseball Podcast. He is the Orioles Hall of Famer, the 14-year MLB veteran. It's Mike Bordick. I'm Jerry Coleman. We're producing brand new content every day, whether it be on our Instagram page, our Facebook page, yes, X, and also YouTube. All at one address, Bmore Sports Pod. That's where you can watch or listen to it. Mostly people listen, Bmore Sports Pod. And you can see it, as always, with our partners at BaltimoreSun.com. I did want to mention the Good Feet store, one of our great sponsors at their Columbia location this Thursday at 6 p.m. Our own Mike Bordick, along with Kobe Mayo and the Oriole Bird, will all be at the Good Feet store Thursday, April the 23rd, starting at 6. They're going to be giving away a pair of tickets to an upcoming Oriole game for anyone who completes a free test walk and fitting. Bordy, I know you're looking forward to meeting the masses out there, you and the Bird.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the Bird, that's for sure. We always have a great time. But Kobe Mayo, are you kidding me? I mean, come on out and meet Kobe Mayo. I mean, the guy's a monster. Let's hope he gets some more hits, though.
It's going to be a great time. So will this episode number 5. We're going to catch up with fellow Orioles Hall of Famer. I'm not there, but you are, with Rick Dempsey. In addition, we'll discuss the Orioles' K problem, as in strikeouts. They are coming at an unbelievable rate. And what happens when a manager tells a player he needs a mental breather? We'll discuss that as well. As always, we bring in our featured guest. He is sponsored by Science and Kirk. Injured in an accident? You've got to call Science and Kirk. If you have a phone, you have a lawyer. Call 1-800-LAWYERS or visit youhavealawyer.com. It's Orioles Hall of Famer Rick Dempsey back with us. Demper, thanks for taking the time. I wanted to start with pitch framing and this whole new ABS system and how maybe the art of pitch framing has sort of gone away because you got the robots involved now.
Well, it's I don't know. For me, it doesn't look right when a catcher sets up behind home plate on one knee, gives a target way outside, and catches the ball on the way back into the corner and into the strike zone. It might be a little too much. You know, framing the ball was never an issue with us and the pitchers that I used. I don't see why we would ever really want to change, but you know, it's a very simple thing to overcome. You know, maybe they ought to listen to a couple of us old guys tell them about a few tricks of the trade. You know, hold the glove out there and let me, you know, you bring it in, but you bend your hand back from the corners, you know, and you get just as many or maybe even more pitches called strikes. But they are having some issues with that, and it might just be from actually overworking the situation with the way that you catch the ball on the way, you know, to the strike zone. And you're gonna get a lot of pitches called strikes and balls when you don't want them, you know, but the balls for sure. But now that they have this new rule where you can always question the umpire, why worry about you know, taking the glove so drastically outside and then catching the ball on the way to the corner? Why worry about it? Because somebody can always contest it. So it's taken a little bit of time that you don't need to take.
All right, Demper. So, you know, following your career, a great defensive catcher, and your framing ability was impeccable. Guys like Bob Boone's as well. And I always used to love how you guys would funnel, you know, the ball into the strike zone. Do you think it's too much movement?
You make a good point, Mike, because it is distracting to the umpire to see that big elbow sticking out in the hand outside the strike zone. And then you're pulling the ball in all the time. He doesn't know exactly when to call the pitch a strike or a ball. So I thought it was a little bit easier in my day because, you know, the precision and everything that comes into it. You just go like this. You just catch the ball on the corner and you turn and you bring your wrist straight back from every angle. And so I would say our way was a little bit easier, but, you know, I haven't caught in situations like they're catching today where they want you to frame where you want to pull the arm in, and there's a lot of movement back there.
And staying with the catching, Rick, I wanted to get your assessment on where things stand with the Orioles catchers. Obviously, Adley Rutschman has been hurt for a little bit. Samuel Basallo's been the key guy behind the plate. Is there room for both going forward in your estimation?
Well, I guess there is because Atlee's had some, you know, issues staying off the disabled list the last year, especially. And he is so good when he's back there behind the plate on a consistent basis, working with the pitching staff. And I notice how he communicates with them coming off the field. I think that's really a great thing. I like that, all that kind of communication because right now these young pitchers they need that connection quite a bit in order to relax a little bit out there and really get to the point where they're throwing more strikes. It makes it easier for the umpires, and there's no sense in all that movement now because now everybody can question ball or strike at any time they want and go right to the camera.
Right. The ABS for sure. Hey,
Yeah.
tell me this though, Demper. I mean, I feel like the most intellectual position on the field has got to be the catcher, the ability to see the whole field. And I know back in the day, teams could take less of a batting average for more of a superior defensive catcher. And I think you were that type of player, not take anything away from your offense. And I don't want you to go down a rabbit hole about your offense, but do you think they pay too much attention to the offense nowadays and pull away from the defense? Because if you ask me, the defense from catchers is atrocious, but all over the field, I just think the offense has taken over, and now defense is kind of put in the back burner.
Yeah. Well, Mike, there's that old saying, I know you've heard it 1,000 times. You can win a lot of games with offense, but you win championships with pitching and defense. And what happens when you go to one knee is you give up a lot of defense because when you take the double play out of order, you got a man on first base and you go to one knee and he's got half decent speed, he's going to go. And percentages for bases stolen is way up from what it was in my day. So you really would, it would be better to not go to one knee, but just give a low target. You've got to be flexible enough to do that. I was always flexible enough to put the catcher's mitt on the ground if I had to, but I'm not as big as Maseo, and I'm not as big as a lot of the catchers that played in my era either. So it was a little bit easier for me. Back in my day, I wasn't as big as Basillo, and even Atlee Rushman is a lot thicker and maybe a little bit taller than I was too. To go to one knee, it takes away the ability of the pitcher to pitch out of the strike zone when he's ahead in the count. You always want to be able, guys, to keep the double play in order at any time. You cannot give that stolen base away, and they've kind of forgotten about that down the stretch here. I know I mentioned before, Mike, to you the difference pitching and defense will win you championships. The offense will win some games, but you got to have that double play in order for your guy to get out of trouble a lot of times, and it saves on the amount of pitches that he ends up throwing if he's able to stop the running game. So um, that's a decision on the part of the organization nowadays for guys to go to one knee all the time. They think it's going to be a lot better. But as I watch a lot of ball games too, I see the catcher come up with the target at the bottom of the strike zone. That's where he wants to start, and by the time he gets into the strike zone, the ball is up here. It's in the middle of the letters. Where was that pitch when I had two strikes on me all the time? Because I was a better high fastball hitter. You don't see that, but nowadays they say they start off low, but they don't really end up there. The target is way up in the fat part of the zone. A lot of good hitters are going to hit home runs off of those pitches when they know fastball's coming most of the time.
What have you ascertained watching the Orioles here early in the season? They have a new manager, a former catcher, just like you, Craig Albanez, but the defense seems a little shaky.
Well, it comes from a lot of things. I'll start off with the catcher going to one knee all the time, trying to give a really low target, but never really finishing not keeping the glove down there. They're bringing it up in the strike zone too far, and they're giving a lot of really good pitches for the opposition to hit. The one knee thing, is always going to take the double play away from you because the percentages of stolen bases are so much higher than they've ever been. And what you need to do is keep that double play in order. When your starting pitcher or even a reliever comes in and he comes to that set position, you can't be giving those guys, big jumps like that and take the double play away from the pitcher because you're going to cost him a lot more pitches at that point in the ball game, another 6 to 8, maybe in an inning. So you really got to tighten up the defense, and this is one thing the Orioles have always been noted for, is having great defensive ball clubs, and therefore it doesn't take as much offense to win ball games. It's just one of those kind of things. You got to have every checkpoint in order uh, to make sure that that teams don't get that big 2 and 3 run lead on you late in the ball game.
The Orioles catchers have been throwing behind runners a lot this year, and almost to the point where I feel like it could become a detriment. It's like every time a base runner gets on, they're throwing behind that base runner, trying to steal an out, if you will. And for me, that kind of seems like a little bit of insecurity. But do you think all that comes from Albornoz as well behind the plate, trying to control the running game?
Well, I don't think he makes that decision on all the pitches. Very few men, nobody ever did it when I was catching, and so there should be no reason to force those throws down to first base behind the runners all the time, because it doesn't stop them from taking a big lead. If they know they're going to go, they're going to get that extra half a step, and especially if you throw over there twice now, they got carte blanche to walk down there almost. So Orioles always had slow pitchers. They come set anywhere from 1.4 to 1.6. Holding on, you're not going to throw too many guys out anyway. But if you got a pitching staff, and I think they do, there's a lot of guys that are better than the guys that I had to work with. 1.2, 1.3 is a maximum that there should be at that point to stop a half decent runner from stealing second base. But you've got to keep it in mind at all times. Keep that runner at first base and keep the double play in order at all times.
Rick, I did want to ask you about the mounting strikeouts that are going on with the Orioles. It's been a continuing problem throughout the season. What are you seeing from your perspective?
From my perspective, it really comes from the approach to offense these days. All those hitters know up there, if they go up there and they know if they hit home runs, they're going to make a lot of money. So they're swinging harder. They're not taking the pitch and waiting for the off-speed pitch to take that ball up the middle or to right field. They're waiting to get that nice little juicy pitch, or even just catch one low in the strike zone where they can lift it enough to get it out of the ballparks. The ballparks are complementary to hitters nowadays too. You don't see very many stadiums where there's more than 405 to straightaway center field, which cuts the gaps at the same time too. So it's conducive to the home run. They want to see the home run, but that's not what you want to see when you're back there pitching and catching. So you've got to make adjustments out there, but keeping that runner at first base has just got to be one of them.
This is an incredible game of adjustments for sure. If you can't adjust, you probably don't belong in the major leagues. But I wanted to ask you something from a catching scouting standpoint, okay? Something that I've noticed, I think all Oriole fans have noticed, is that Orioles hitters are getting an exorbitant amount of changeups and off-speed pitches, curveballs, sliders, everything off speed. I mean, I'm talking up over 60%, like 70% off speed stuff. Now, I know back in the old school days, you knew your hitters and things like that, and advanced scouting, metrics would come into play. But did you always have in your mind an understanding of what teams did and would it change year by year? Because I don't remember the Orioles ever getting this many breaking balls, but also this year they are just getting hammered with off-speed pitches.
Well, Mike, for the last couple of years, the Orioles have drafted well. Good young players that come in, they can hit the fastball. There is no doubt about that. But they haven't proved yet that they can hit off-speed pitches. Let's go back to the World Series, the last 2 games for the Dodgers, and all of a sudden Toronto comes up with a guy out there on the mound with a split finger fastball. It's just like, it's basically a changeup that goes downhill. And so it really threw the Dodgers off, because if you noticed in that last game, I don't think any Dodger even fouled off a split finger fastball the entire game. And I watched those kind of things. They didn't do it. He came in the 7th game, same guy, and he tried to throw a split finger. Well, now they were looking for it for sure. And they had a little bit more success in that last game against them. The Dodgers ended up winning that 7th game. But changing speeds is always going to be the way that you get good teams and good hitters when you throw them out of balance. The Orioles have got great fastball hitters. You got young kids that are very strong and can hit a lot of home runs. But the equalizer is always going to be the changeup or that slow curveball. Or the one guy who can adjust to it is Atlee Rushman. This guy is a pure hitter. He takes the ball inside. He can inside it out the opposite way on right-handed and left-handed. So, I mean, he's a pure hitter, not a guy you want up there swinging for the fences all the time. He's going to hit his share of home runs anyway. He's strong enough. But a good contact hitter like that, for high batting average, and I think I noticed that his batting average has really come up quite a bit as of late. He's hitting the ball well. So you want a guy like that in there. But, the philosophy about hitting today has changed all the way. They just want the home runs. You see 2 or 3 guys in the lineup hitting under 200 in most every single lineup that I've seen. And you can't take that much production out of the lineup. I'll take a double at any time from any hitter that you have in a lineup, or a triple. You got to get the guys with speed. But, knocking guys in with a single, 2 RBIs here and there is just as good as I can. So don't put too much emphasis on everybody going up there swinging for the fences.
Rick, last thing I have for you is you're doing a lot of work coming up this summer with the kids. The mantra used to be back in my day, the quickest way to reach the major leagues as a kid is being a catcher. I don't know if that still applies these days.
Well, mine was pretty quick. I mean, right out of high school, I signed at 17 years old. At 19 years old, I was playing in the big leagues, and I was very small. There was a lot of base runners that were salivating, waiting for an opportunity to hit me at home plate. I was only 155 pounds. So, for a couple of years. And then after a while, I started to get a little bit bigger. It wasn't quite as easy to get me.
All right, Rick, we really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure. We look forward to having you in Baltimore. Tell everyone what you have coming up. You're doing a camp with Bordick.
Well, I am. We're getting our little baseball school academy together and getting on a regular basis. We've gone to an open field now instead of been in a warehouse. And so we're making some adjustments as far as our side of the job is concerned. But I think it's better for the kids, too, to get out there on the field, run the bases at the same time. It's going to be a lot more fun. And then the batting cages will still be on the sides of the fields and things. And we'll just have more of an opportunity to teach and get Mike Bordick to show him how to backhand the ball and become a great shortstop.
Sounds like it's going to be a blast. Look forward to it. Thank you for taking the time and being here with us today, Rick. Really appreciate it.
To help explain how much fun I have playing Fast Play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, I brought in a ballpark vendor.
Hot dogs, hot dogs.
I love having the chance to win cash or to be selected as a contestant of the game. During that game, I can win $500 for every Orioles home run. So grab the
Popcorn, get your popcorn.
Plus, I can win $5,000 for a grand slam. So when the Orioles are hitting homers, things can get pretty nuts. Make the right call this season and play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery.
Here's something the car insurance companies don't want you to know. If you've been injured in a car accident, the insurance companies are already working against you. They have a team full of agents whose job is to give you as little as possible. That's why you need an experienced lawyer. Science & Kirk has been fighting for accident victims for over 50 years. They know how to handle the insurance companies and know how to get you maximum compensation. Don't go it alone. Remember, you have a lawyer. Call Science & Kirk today or visit youhavealawyer.com.
Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
Hey Oriole fans, it's Oriole Hall of Famer Mike Bordick here. During my 14 years in the big leagues and over 1,700 games, I put a lot of miles on my body. Listen, I used to judge my days by how I'd walk down the stairs. Now I don't even think about it. I'm almost 60 years old and my legs have never felt better. That's why I trust the Good Feet Arch Supports. They've made a real difference in keeping me active, whether I'm coaching, staying involved in the game that I love, or just enjoying pain-free life here in Baltimore. Thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm still in the game. Visit the Good Feet store today for a free fitting and test walk. Take the first step toward a pain-free life.
Cravings can strike at any time, and Royal Farms is ready to fuel your mornings with fresh brewed coffee, paired with protein-packed breakfast sandwiches and a side of those crispy hash browns. And when the midday hunger hits, bite into a world-famous chicken sub, loaded with flavor and leveled up with a side of Western fries. And when it's time to bring home a crowd pleaser, don't miss out on our world-famous chicken meals. Hand-breaded and a hit with the whole family. Whenever you crave, Royal Farms is ready.
Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. Looking for a great place to watch the game, bet the races, and get in on the action without heading to the big city? Head to Greenmount OTB in Hampstead, where the action is always on. Watch every game and race on more than 40 big-screen TVs while wagering on live horse racing or the big game at the Bet Park Sportsbook. You can bet at the window, at a kiosk, or right from your phone with the Bet Parks mobile app. And grab great food from Greenmount Station, home of Maryland's best crab cakes. Then keep the fun going next door at Greenmount Bowl. Greenmount OTB. Big time action in a hometown setting. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
All right, there he goes, Rick Dempsey. Technology sound. That's what we are here on the Bmore Baseball Podcast. On to For the Birds, which is always brought to you by our friends over at the Maryland Lottery. Play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery. You could win instantly or win cash for Orioles home runs as a contestant of the game. As always, please play responsibly. We mentioned it briefly with Dempsey, Bordy, but the Ks are concerning. And it was a problem last year, and right now the Orioles are in a midst of a streak where they've struck out at least 11 times in 4 consecutive games. They struck out 16 times over the weekend against the Guardians. They're third, or tied for third at last glance, in terms of strikeouts overall in Major League Baseball. So how do you fix this approach? It's a little concerning, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a philosophy, and it's a modern day philosophy. It's how the offensive game has evolved. And think about this, unfortunately. You mentioned 16 strikeouts. That's 5 1/3 innings of nothing for the Orioles offense. That is non-existent opportunity to score a run, which is, what you're supposed to be doing in Major League Baseball, okay? Now, we've seen year in and year out the most successful teams. The Blue Jays were in the World Series last year because they put the ball in play. I don't understand how this philosophy has changed so much. The 3 true outcomes, I guess, is what analytics have brought to baseball. Strikeout, a walk, or a home run. That's it. And that's all we're seeing. And it's a cold, kind of bland game, if you ask me. Put some pressure on the opposing team defense. This is what baseball is about. The opportunity to force a starting pitcher out by seeing as many pitches as you can, as soon as you can, whether that be drawing a walk, getting a base hit, extending an inning, putting pressure on an opposing team's defense, and trying to run that starting pitcher. Okay, as soon as the bullpen comes in, if it's the start of a series, you want to get deep into the bullpen so you can work the pitchers. You don't swing at the first pitch every time and have quick outs. We saw this just recently with the Orioles. They're facing a tough lefty, and next thing you know, this tough lefty has 2 or 3 innings where he pitches 7 pitches in an inning. What are we trying to do here? Are we trying to knock the pitcher out? Or are we trying to help him to stay in and throw a complete game shutout against our offense? How important is winning? And do you really want to win? Because if you do want to win, you will make an adjustment to your offensive game to find a way to put more pressure on the opposing team's pitcher and defense.
There's a fine line between being aggressive and being smart. It's fine to be aggressive, but when a pitcher has just walked a couple of batters and you come up and you swing at the first pitch, that's not being smart. That's being way too aggressive.
Yeah, it really is. It's being selfish also is what it is, okay? So there used to be a thing called teamwork and sportsmanship and an understanding of the nuance inside the game of baseball. The true dictator of how a major league hitter should take an at-bat is the scoreboard. Look at the scoreboard, and it should tell you exactly what to do. I don't think players have to think as much nowadays, unfortunately. So they're losing some of the baseball instinct and intellect. You're seeing infielders that are looking at cards. Well, hitters, they just say, you got 3 chances, give it your best swing, your A swing, if you will, and see if you can hit it 450, 500 feet. And that's all they're trying to do. They're not actually playing the game of baseball and understanding the importance of strategy if you're really concerned about winning ball games.
Can you make a midseason adjustment, or has the horse left the barn?
Well, I think the horse has left the barn. I think individually players can take it amongst themselves to make adjustments. If you look at certain numbers, I think the Orioles had a recent player, and I think they're all kind of guilty of this. Colton Cowser was in an 0 for 15 stretch with 8 strikeouts. Doesn't appear like there are many adjustments being made right there. And this has been a knock on Cowser for a couple years now, just inconsistent. So listen, talent will get you to the big leagues, but adjustments are what keep you in the big leagues. And no offensive player is really making those adjustments right now.
Well said. All right, let's move beyond Baltimore. It's all brought to you by Relief Shop. Relief Shop, Baltimore's best adult use and medical cannabis dispensary with 700 plus unique menu items and home delivery always available for medical patients, courtesy of Relief Shop. They're right there in the heart of Charm City on Cathedral Street. Send Connor Welton our best. All right, so the Orioles are in Kansas City this week, and recently star catcher Salvador Perez and their new manager, some guy named Matt Quintero, who I'm not too familiar with, he declared through the media, not talking with the player, that Salvador Perez needed a mental breather. And this is less than 25 games into the season. How do you feel about this so early in the season? And more importantly, the communication breakdown that took place with the manager speaking to the veteran through the media and not man to man.
Yeah, that is so surprising, especially nowadays in modern baseball. It seems like communication is the only way to get a vibe on your team, right? And that's what the way of baseball right now. You better have a good vibe in your clubhouse. Well, when you talk to the media about the mental side of the game, that's crossing a line, especially if you don't do it with a Hall of Fame player. Salvador Perez, talk to him about, his playing opportunities and things like that. We all know that Perez is getting older, but my gosh, you can't insult a major league player that is headed to Cooperstown and say he needs a mental break. How about you let that Hall of Fame player let you know when he needs a mental break? I think that's the way the game should possibly be. You never want to use the media to translate any kind of information that you want a player to hear about. This has got to be behind closed doors. There has to be that good line of communication. I think, unfortunately, managers, coaches, front offices, they all think they know how a baseball player should deal with things mentally, when so many of these people never played the game. They don't understand what it takes to get inside the game, the actually true grind of the game, the understanding the importance of trying to make yourself better. And there is still a merit system. There really is. And I think, unfortunately, the algorithmic baseball brand has started to pull some of that true, what I think is what baseball was all about. Those guys like Cal Ripken, the Iron Man, that wore a badge of honor for guys that took the field day in and day out, players that you could actually trust. And now I think they're giving guys, oh, you need a break. You're working too hard. Give him a little medal so he can take his little mental break and still, instead of honing in that sharpening of the knife for competition. What is it all about? It's about competing and grinding and making through it. And when you all of a sudden give guys off days for a mental reset, I think you're making them soft and you're taking away that true competitive drive. That's why guys want to cross the lines and compete. That's why Cal Ripken did. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, to a lesser degree, Cal, and even Pete Alonso. Salvador Perez prides himself on being out there every day. He wants to be out there, whether it be as the catcher or as the DH. So it seemed like there was a disconnect there between he and his new manager. But, I mean, has anything like that ever occurred with you, or a manager said, hey, Mike, you need a rest, and you didn't want to take a rest?
Well, you know what? I've played with some great managers, right? And Tony La Russa used to come around, and every now and then he'd hint to some of his guys, whether he'd say, yeah, I'm probably going to give you an off day, in this series. And next thing you know, you play 3 or 4 games in a series and you don't get an off day. But I think just those kind of, letting guys know that he's thinking about it, possibly give you an off day. And many times, and I've heard it and I've said it myself, where player says, I feel pretty good, Skip. I don't need an off day. All right, I'm just thinking that, might want to give you a blow one of these days. Okay, appreciate that. And I think all players really appreciate that. But when a manager all of a sudden pulls a guy aside and says, listen, man, you are really grinding right now. I just want you to step back. Don't even take batting practice today. Most guys aren't built like that, probably more nowadays, but because managers should see it. They know the clubhouse. They know the long trips, the efforts that guys are putting in, and they know when all of a sudden the grind, it's becoming a failure loop. And that's what managers and coaches have to be cognizant of. They have to understand their players to that point where they can call them into the office and say, hey man, I just feel like you're pressing right now. I'm going to give you an off day on Sunday. We got an off day on Monday. So that's going to give you 2 full days. The explaining of that really helps the trust, I think, for a clubhouse and at least a player to say, all right, at least they're paying attention. They see what I'm doing, and they'll be able to hopefully enjoy their off day a little bit better.
Yeah, and as you pointed out astutely earlier, not only is it a catcher, but it's the veteran catcher and the captain of the team that you have to communicate with. He's the guy you have to communicate with best, in my opinion, at least.
Well, there's no doubt about it, because he's going to influence the whole clubhouse. And if all of a sudden your captain is also throwing jabs out in social media because the manager spoke behind his neck, that ain't going to be a good thing.
No, not at all. All right, that about does it. We do want to thank our sponsors, including the Good Feet Store. You can hear more baseball talk and see more of Mike Bordick this Thursday at 6 p.m. He, Colby Mayo, and the Oriole Bird will be at the Good Feet Store right there in Columbia. They'll also be giving away a pair of tickets to an upcoming Oriole game for anyone who completes a free test and walk fitting. So make sure to see Mike in Columbia.
To help explain how much fun I have playing Fast Play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery, I brought in a ballpark vendor.
Hot dogs, hot dogs.
I love having the chance to win cash or to be selected as a contestant of the game. During that game, I can win $500 for every Orioles home run. So grab the
Popcorn, get your popcorn.
Plus, I can win $5,000 for a grand slam. So when the Orioles are hitting homers, things can get pretty nuts. Make the right call this season and play Home Run Riches from the Maryland Lottery.
Here's something the car insurance companies don't want you to know. If you've been injured in a car accident, the insurance companies are already working against you. They have a team full of agents whose job is to give you as little as possible. That's why you need an experienced lawyer. Science & Kirk has been fighting for accident victims for over 50 years. They know how to handle the insurance companies and know how to get you maximum compensation. Don't go it alone. Remember, you have a lawyer. Call Science & Kirk today or visit youhavealawyer.com.
Shop Maryland's largest adult use and medical cannabis menu, located at 1114 Cathedral Street in Baltimore, with medical delivery available throughout Maryland 7 days a week, only at Relief Shop.
Hey Oriole fans, it's Oriole Hall of Famer Mike Bordick here. During my 14 years in the big leagues and over 1,700 games, I put a lot of miles on my body. Listen, I used to judge my days by how I'd walk down the stairs. Now I don't even think about it. I'm almost 60 years old and my legs have never felt better. That's why I trust the Good Feet Arch Supports. They've made a real difference in keeping me active, whether I'm coaching, staying involved in the game that I love, or just enjoying pain-free life here in Baltimore. Thanks to the Good Feet Store, I'm still in the game. Visit the Good Feet Store today for a free fitting and test walk. Take the first step toward a pain-free life.
Cravings can strike at any time, and Royal Farms is ready to fuel your mornings with fresh brewed coffee, paired with protein-packed breakfast sandwiches and a side of those crispy hash browns. And when the midday hunger hits, bite into a world-famous chicken sub, loaded with flavor and leveled up with a side of Western fries. And when it's time to bring home a crowd pleaser, don't miss out on our world-famous chicken meals, hand-breaded and a hit with the whole family. Whenever you crave, Royal Farms is ready.
Effective Solutions, your one-stop shop for commercial contracting. Everything from excavation and site development to emergency remediation and restoration. Effective Solutions specializes in many forms of commercial and mixed-use construction. With a dedicated staff and a commitment to quality, Effective Solutions delivers every time. Looking for a great place to watch the game, bet the races, and get in on the action without heading to the big city? Head to Greenmount OTB in Hampstead, where the action is always on. Watch every game and race on more than 40 big-screen TVs while while wagering on live horse racing or the big game at the Bet Park Sportsbook. You can bet at the window, at a kiosk, or right from your phone with the Bet Parks mobile app. And grab great food from Greenmount Station, home of Maryland's best crab cakes. Then keep the fun going next door at Greenmount Bowl. Greenmount OTB. Big time action in a hometown setting. 21 and over only. Please play responsibly. For help, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Until next time, be real, be kind, and make sure to be back for another episode. It's the Bmore Baseball Podcast. We're out.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.